Good evening and welcome to Summer This and Summer That, our very last broadcast on Wellness Wednesdays at First Nazareth Baptist Church. Well, Blakely and Scott is the pastor. My name is Malillian Scott. I'm here along with all of the Bible study crew is on. We've got Trustee Reggie Sadler who's going to pray us in just a little while. And we've got Reverend Hazel. So we're getting ready to return to you all in about 2 weeks from now in mid-August. But before that, we have an exciting topic matter to talk about. We're going to be talking to maybe the students, or if you're looking to maybe start a second career, if you're looking to maybe explore some career possibilities, this is the broadcast for you, because we're telling this Now What Next Steps for Students and Career. And we are thankful to have our very own sources on with us. We have retired U.S. Army E8 First Sergeant. Did I get that correct? Laureen Billingsly. She's going to be on. She's also a Bible study instructor for our youth. And so it's very timely that she would be one of our panelists today to talk about maybe some military options and, what to look for in college applications. We also have, she's also no stranger to First Nazareth, Dr. Jenais Means. She's going to be sharing college opportunities and some of the possibilities around that subject matter, and also some career path guidance. And then we're also thankful to have our very own Ms. Vida Jennings. And she's going to introduce herself and her credentials, but she is a wealth of information on human resources and workplace readiness and career behavior. And so we are looking forward to having them share with us. We just want to make sure that if you're on any of our social media platforms currently, / First Nazareth on Facebook or YouTube Live, please share and let folks know that we would love to have them learn from these young ladies. But before we get into that, we're going to have Trustee Reggie pray us in, and then we will look forward to what they have to share with us. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Reverend Mills, we forgot to introduce you. You are our pastor's favorite preacher, and we have to say that. So let us go to the Lord in prayer. Great is thy faithfulness. Great is thy faithfulness. Moment by moment, new mercies we see. Heavenly Father, as we come before thee, we come before thee in awe and wonder, thanking thee for who you are. Thanking thee for your Son, our Savior. Thanking thee for giving us the Holy Spirit, which is our comforter. Now you've guided our steps to be here on this call this evening, just to give you praise and honor. Heavenly Father, we hope that what we're doing is edifying and glorifying you, that it helps us to be all that we would have us to be. And we'll be very, very careful to give you all the praise, all the honor. These things we ask in your blessed Son, Jesus our Christ. Amen.
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 Melanie, you want me to go ahead?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let me share my screen real quickly, and we'll do that. And share. Once again, my name is Laureen Billingsly, and I am going to talk about some options for the military. As you know, we have the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, and the Marine, and of course, our newest one, which is the Armed Forces Space Corps. And all of these are all exciting. Believe it or not, we do work together all at one time sometimes. But one of the most important things I want to hit before we go ahead and break it down a little bit is the most important thing is what most of you know as the ASVAB test. This is the Armed Service Vocational Aptitude Battery Test. This test is very important. It determines the occupation that you want that you go into. For example, you have to score, it ranges from 91 all the way down. The minimum that you can get on the ASVAB is 31. The highest is 91. So it's very important That is the number one thing that they're going to ask you. Well, you got to take the test first. And so you want to concentrate on that. The second thing is, before I break it down, you never want to go see your recruiter by yourself. You always want, if you know someone that has been in the military or that is currently in that field that you wanted to go into, whether it be Army, Navy, Marines, Space Academy, Navy, whatever, you want to make sure you take someone with you. Just like any other place, Armed Forces has a quota they have to meet. Okay, everybody has a quota. So now we're going to go in and I'm going to break it down to you. I'm going to get out of this and we're going to go one by one. Okay, and I'm going to go as quick as I can. The first one, the one I love the most, is the Army, of course, because I was Army. So some of the fields that the Army provides are, you have your science and medicine, you have your support and logistics, you have your signal and intelligence, aviation and defense, mechanics and engineering, and of course your ground forces, which is like your infantry, your special forces, and deltas. Okay. Now we're going to get into, in the Army, I'm going to go straight to it, the steps to join. Okay. The first thing, you can come in as an enlisted soldier or you can come in as a commissioned officer. You can go to school first, whether it's West Point, any college you want to go to, and do ROTC, which is really just preparing you. Or you can also do basic training, which everybody's heard of, and go to the commissioner officer school. Of course, you know the Army is broken down into your National Guard, your Army Reserves, and of course your active duty. You also have your active guard, which works in the civilian sector. But the most important thing that you all want to know is you want to know the age to join and all that. When will the military take me? Okay. So first of all, let's go. Did I go to the, yeah, I went there. Let me scroll down. First of all, I already talked about the entrance, that you have to take the entrance test. You have to be between the ages of 17 and 35. You cannot be over 35. Only time there's an exception is when there's war. Because in war, you need what? You need people. So the first thing you want to do is go and see a recruiter. The recruiter will have you take the ASVAB test. You'll take the entrance test. Once you pass the entrance test, then this is where it's important that you have someone that knows about the military. You do not want them just to put you in any job. For example, I didn't care nothing about being a grunt, being out in the field. Okay, I didn't care nothing about getting dirty. I wanted to be in computers and things like that. So I had my uncle go down there with me. Why? Because he was already in the military, and he helped me get the job that I wanted. But I also scored the scores on the ASVAB test to get that job. Those scores are determined by your math, your everything that we learn in school: math, English, science, mechanical, and engineering. I'm not a mechanic person, not an engineering person. So, but they take those scores and they bring them together, and that's how and then they give you a list of jobs that you qualify first. Okay. And then once you find a job, of course, you got to be physically fit. We know that you're going to go to basic training. So basic training is 10 weeks. That's where you have an opportunity to get in shape. They do not expect you to come in and be in tip-top shape, okay? One thing that you must know that a lot of young people do not know is that you cannot join the military with tattoos on your necks, okay? Cannot be tattooed from top to bottom. That's for all armed forces, okay? So make sure you understand that piece. You cannot have tattoos on your neck. And one of our members in our church went down there. She did not let me know that she had a tattoo. I didn't know because she had a collar neck on. It was wintertime. Went down there. When they went to see her neck, guess what? They said, sorry, can't take you till you get that on your neck. Okay. You do not, you can have a high school diploma. You can have a GED with college credits, or you can have a GED. Now, once you get in the military now, they're asking you have 2 years to get your associate degree. Every occupation you go into now, they want you to have eventually get a degree. Okay. And that's just something you guys got to get used to.
Didn't know that.
Yes. And Matter of fact, towards when I was in order to make E8, I had to have my bachelor's degree. That is one. You got to think everybody, no matter what job you go into, they just don't want people you don't want to just be directed. They want you to be able to think for yourselves, think outside the box, be intelligent, go above and beyond. So pretty much, once again, you can got to be between the ages of 17 and 35 unless it's war. The hardest part is basic training. That myth about they yell at you all the way through basic training is not true. I was a drill sergeant. We only get in that the first 3 weeks. Yeah, we yelling at you. And then after that, we kind of lean off, but we're still in charge. They're still in charge. Okay. But you do have, in order to pass basic training, you do have to pass the PT test and the weapons qualifications. Okay. Those are the two main things. And then of course, when you leave there, you go to AIT, which is nothing more than going to the school of that you signed up. For example, if you're computer engineering, you would go to computer engineering in the military. Also, before we move on, all of the armed forces will help you get your education. So it's not like you come in and you have to get that 2-year degree without having sources. I got my degree in the military. They helped me get my degree. Okay. So any questions on that before we move on to Air Force? Okay.
Well, I did have a question. So if you're not necessarily required to take the institutional education route, it's only if you want a specific job, or are you able to?
They're going to encourage you. Mainly the educational route is, say, for example, you want to get promoted.
Okay.
So they're encouraging you when you hit about, DA starts looking, let me go back from E1 to E5, you're really being chosen by your platoon sergeant, your first sergeant, your commander. Once you hit E6, DA looks at you and determines whether or not they want to promote you. Well, if I don't have a degree and Lillian has a degree, who do you think they're going to look at? They're going to look at the people that they feel are most beneficial to them in all areas. They want you to be more than just a grunt to go out and fire a weapon. They want you to be more than just knowing your specific job. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
And it's also a way for you to prepare for the civilian world. If you don't, it's hard to come out if you don't. Take an infantry guy. If that infantry person all he knows how to do is fire weapons and there's really nothing out here for the infantry person. He needs a little bit more than just knowing how to fire a weapon. Okay, say if he wants to, so it's kind of getting you ready for both. It's what the Army is going, what the military is going to. We want to make sure if Lillian decides not to do those 20 years, at least she has her education when she gets out.
Absolutely.
Can I ask a question, Laureen?
Yes, okay, sir. Yes, ma'am.
At one point, Army would take anybody. You could get in the Army. But now with the that vocational aptitude battery test and requiring to get the degree, that's not true anymore then, right?
Right. The Army, all the armed forces are, and I don't want to just say Army too, they're all set up to make you successful. The only time that they really will not take you is if I have a criminal record. I have to get that record sponged first. Does that make sense? And that depends on what that criminal records. The military says we know that people are young and they make unwise decisions when they're young. For example, someone might still, in our day, you didn't have to get your record sponged for stealing a 5-cent candy. But now if you go steal that candy bar, I'm just using that as an example, you're going to have to get that sponged off your record. Right. They are requiring, you do have to have they're not taking you if you don't have a high school diploma or a GED, or they're not going to take you. Or if you have tattoos from head to toe, you have to go. So they're not just saying show up and you're joining the Army. No, they're going to help you get the degree once you get into the military. They're not saying, okay, Laureen, you don't have a degree, you can't go in. But they are watching who they're bringing in. They are watching because they want you to be robust. They want you to be, when you come out, you want to be better than you were when you came in.
But this is basically for the educational portion of it is basically for the career people, those people that go in and stay 2 or 3 years, or well, whatever the minimum that you can stay, then the educational portion is not for them.
No, because if a private comes in, I encouraged all of them, no matter who was under me, I encouraged them to get their degree.
Okay.
Because the military is just like any other place. It can become a career or it can become just a job for you. And you want them to have a career in it. You want them to be successful. And the military gives you time to go to school and do all that. Now, not saying you can't stay in if you don't get that. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying the military is going to kick you out because you don't get an education. They're just encouraging you to do that.
Thank you.
Laureen, let me ask you a question. How do you get to choose those exotic places to go? Like if you wanted to go to Germany or go to Jamaica or wherever, Japan, how do you get to choose those locales?
Like say, for example, I was a 92 Alpha. Every area has a career manager, which you guys call on the civilian side. I wanted to, when I was in Fort Campbell, didn't like Fort Campbell, wanted out of Fort Campbell. I called up my career manager, told me, please get me out of here. I know I got to do 2 years, but I want out of Fort Campbell. How you get me out? They said, where you want to go? I want to go to Europe. They looked at my record. I wasn't a problem soldier. They gave me what I wanted. Okay. I wanted to there was one time they gave me Korea. I didn't want to go to Korea, but I went because I know some things you have to do for your career too. But you can ask them what slots are open. And most likely going overseas, you're going to go overseas. They're going to let you go overseas. And you're right. That's how you get to those exotic places.
Okay. That's what I was wondering.
Okay. I'm going to hit the Air Force real quick. Air Force is the same. We've already talked about that aptitude test. It's very important that they do their best on it. I took it when I was in high school, even though I went to college first and got 2 years of college first. I still took it and did pretty well on it. Same thing like the military, the Army. They want you to be physically fit. Mental screening now. That's the one thing I forgot. They do the mental screening. Why do you think they do the mental screening now? Someone tell me. Why do you think they do mental screening, Reverend Reese? Or
I guess they don't want anybody going berserk on them.
I was gonna check in, Laureen.
Going up everybody.
The high stress and the potential risk associated with the job also has long-term impacts.
Exactly.
And if people have instability issues going in up front, that would be a greater challenge while serving.
Exactly. And it's to protect. And I'll be honest with you, across the board, young people sometimes don't know what they're getting into, y'all. And I'll give an example. I've had a couple of them hit basic training and had a mental breakdown. Just starting, I didn't know what this was. I don't know what I was doing. How can I get out of it? And the mental breakdown is real. And that's why I used to get mad at some of my battles because they didn't take it serious. Okay, this soldier is telling you that he or she is having a mental breakdown. The first thing I did, they're like, oh, they're okay. No, they're giving me that weapon. When they tell you they want to go home, some of them are serious. And Vida just hit it. It's because of that mental breakdown and that stress. They're not used to one person wasn't used to, I'll give them an example. His wife and his mom wasn't getting along. During some ability, I got to go home. My wife and my mom's not getting along. So you can't go home. But I had to talk to him in a different way and to get him to understand. I couldn't just say, I don't care. I have to tell him I understand what's going on. But at this time, it's best for you to finish for your family. So, and then some of them, they're just not going to make it. They're going to tell you. And I'm going to let them go home because sooner or later, what's going to happen? They're going to hurt themselves or what? Someone else.
Everybody else.
Somebody else. But moving along, go ahead. Somebody has something to say? Okay, I thought someone said something. The Air Force is different. You can join the Air Force all the way up to your 42nd birthday. Okay. The Army is 35. The Air Force is 42. And then if you're in the healthcare ministry, like chaplain or something like that, they let you join all the way up to your 48. Okay. And then, of course, everything else is the same. You got to meet your height requirement and stuff once you get in there. Also, everybody knows the military is a way for people to get their citizenship too. It's a way for them to get their citizenship. And I'm going to move quickly because it's pretty much the same thing. The only difference is it's the jobs. Aviation is different, pilot and stuff like that. The job requirements are a little different. So moving along. The newest thing I told you about was the Air Force Space Force, and Reverend Dodd's son is in that, and he's enjoying it too. And you get to learn about the space, different jobs there. You have to join that through the Air Force because it's part of the Air Force. Okay. Again, with that one, you have to have again a high school diploma, GED, 15 college credits with the GED or just the GED. Okay. I will tell you that if they're getting close to their quotas in the armed forces, who do you think is going to get in? That person with the GED and 15 college credits, or the person with just the GED? Who do you think I'm going to choose?
The college credit and the GED.
And even with that, who do you think I'm going to choose? I have one with the high school diploma or the GED with the 15 college credits? I'm going to choose the high school diploma. You know why? Because in high school, you can get what now? I went for the advanced high school. I was in AP classes. I had college courses coming out of high school. The high school diploma is still the most important thing. We sometimes think, a lot of young people think if they go get, I'm going to get my GED. No, high school diploma is the most important. That's the one that's going to get you in with no questions asked. If you don't have a criminal record or anything, all I had to do, I said, you know what? I was in college. I saw, my parents tried to put 5 of us through college. I said, you know what? I'm used to a certain lifestyle. Let me go on over here. I'm used to daddy taking care of me. So that I have no questions, no qualms. Handed my high school diploma, SAT scores were there. That's it. So that's why we got to impress our young people to graduate from high school and even go to college. You can still get in the military while you're at college too. Okay. And pretty much everything else is pretty much the same. So moving forward, what did I say? The most important thing is taking that ASVAB, right? Getting them a high school diploma, then GED with college credit or GED. Then the ASVAB test is the next important thing because it decides your job. Then that mental evaluation. If you have a criminal record, you have to do what? You have to get it sponged. And then each area is going to help you get your what? Your college degree if you want it, correct?
Right.
Let's go to Navy. Navy, of course, it's the same requirements. Difference in Navy basic training and Marine basic training is, guess what? You're swimming. Got to take a swim test. Got to know how to swim. Cannot be claustrophobia because what does Navy do? They stay on what most of the time, y'all?
Submarines.
Ships and Marines, yeah, and the Marines. So I'm not, a lot of this I'm not going to keep repeating to you because I don't want to, same thing. The difference in the Navy, you can join the Navy from 17 all the way up to 41 years of age, okay? Navy all the way in, same thing. Keep in mind, one thing I also want to make clear, remember when you join the armed forces, when you get in trouble in the civilian world, you also get in trouble in the armed forces. In other words, if I'm out, because we all get time off, weekends off, if I go out and do something crazy, like get a DWI, the civilian world's going to get me and the military is going to get me. So what have I just done? I've ruined both what? Both sides. That's the one thing people don't understand going into the military. It's important that you let people know what you do in the military affects the civilian world. What you do in the civilian world affects the what? The military world. Okay. And that I tell that all the time to people. Okay. And so I just want to make any questions before I get to the Marines. Okay. Moving right along. Marines, the hardcore of the hardcore. They are same thing. You got to take the ASVAB. Got to have the GED, high school GED plus 15 credits. PT has the physical fitness part has changed for each one, so that's why I didn't go over that. physical training exams have changed. So they're new and they're being tested. Okay. Same thing again, your mental fitness. Your mental fitness is very important now.
Miss Laureen, I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt. Do you mind putting on presentation mode so we can move through
I'm sorry. I thought it was on. Can you see it now? Can y'all see?
Yes, ma'am.
No.
No, it's still on the original slide.
Oh, because you know what? I went oh, it didn't stop sharing. Hold on.
Oh, it's sharing. Just click on presentation mode so we can go through it with you. I think you're on Marine.
Hold on. Hold on. Let me go back. I got two up. Hold on. Let me put the one down and let me click on. Oh, I see what it did. I didn't close that out.
Just double click.
Hold on. Okay. Can you see it now?
Yeah, there you go. That's Space Force.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna do the Marine.
Gotcha. Okay. Just want to make sure we're on the same page. There you go.
Thank you. Can you see it now? Okay. Yeah. Okay. And the Marines are basically the same. The requirements. So for all of them, the requirements are the same. The only thing that's different is the age. The one with the Marines, if you want to go into the Marines, you got to get in there before you're 28 years old. Marines do not take you. And if you're over the age of 28, you have to have a waiver. But we all know during wartime, they do what? During war, we're taking it all, right? We don't care what age you are. If you want to come. Okay. Same thing. Most things people have a problem with, and it's a lot of the young men these days, believe it or not, they have a problem with cutting their hair. You're cutting the hair. If you got the locks, just know they're going. Okay. Because you already know this when you sign up, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Just like I used to love to get my nails done. I had to go through basic training, couldn't get them done, right?
Oh.
Yeah. I love to get my hair done. Couldn't get my hair done doing basic training, correct? So those are the things that we give up, and everything is about being, even on the civilian world, be in accordance with what? Being in accordance. We have to be in regulation. Okay. So just to recap, I said for all the armed services, what is the number one thing that you have to have?
High school diploma.
What can you have besides high school diplomas?
GED.
And with what? No, you can also have a GED with what?
College credits, 15 credits.
What did I say the next important thing was?
ASVAB.
Right. And why is the ASVAB so important?
Tells you what your job is and skills.
I like what she said. Yeah. Say it again, Lillian.
It tells you what your job is and the skills.
Right. And remember, the highest score is 91 and the minimum score is 31.
31.
And I've said, if you have any criminal records, anything on your background, what do you have to do?
It has to be expunged if there's anything on your records.
All right. And
tattoos on the neck. Gotta go.
That's right.
No tattoos in the military.
You can have tattoos, you just can't have them where?
On the neck.
On the neck.
Anywhere that shows, because
like the face.
Either. Yeah, or on the face. There you go. Okay. And what did I say about the education? Once you get in, they help you do what?
Be successful.
That's it. And now I'm going to talk about middle-aged tech, and I'm going to get out y'all's way.
Wait, before you know, how do the reserves play into this? And they apply to all of the branches, is that correct?
Yeah, let me tell you about, I'm glad you asked that question. Just like anything, everybody, if I want to be in the reserves, I still have to go through basic training. Or if I want to be an officer, I still got to go through the officer training. And the only difference in the reserves and the active duty is reserves meet once a month, and then they do every 2 weeks a year for training. Okay. But they still have to go to those trainings. And keep in mind, everybody's under the impression that the reserves and National Guard and O Guards, that they don't get called up. Oh, yes, they do. When Iraq kicked off, guess who went first, y'all? The Army Reserves and the Air Force Reserves, and they went, and the National Guards went before we did. So, matter of fact, who's over? You know who's primarily over there right now? They are. They are. So people think they have that misnotice that if I join the Army Reserve, any reserve component, let me just not say Army, any reserve component of the military, that I won't be called up to go to war. That's not true. That's not true. Also, when I got out in 2014, they could also call me back within that 10 years. I'm so blessed that 2024 is here and I cannot be called back. Because think about it. In that 10 years, it tells you that. Most of us did not know that. You have to read it when you get out. The guy pointed it out to me. He said, I want to make sure you know this. Within that 10 years, so from October 2014 to, well, actually, I got a few more months to go, October 2024. If a war kicks off and they need me and they need people, guess who they're going to call back? They're going to call us first, those 10 that was in that 10 years. So, I've been praying there ain't no war.
No, that's right.
So, so people got to understand that. And we got to understand that being reserved does not mean you do not go to war. Mm-hmm. And right now, matter of fact, Tasha had some people go and work the border. Remember right now the crisis is at the border. Guess what? Army Reserve, all reserve units and active duty personnel can go work the borders. Oh. It's what we're here to serve the U.S. in any capacity. Correct.
Correct.
Could I ask a question? Okay. Mm-hmm. You could be called up until October of this year. What if war broke out tomorrow? Will you just serve the remainder of your time and can come home from war, or you gotta stay over there, say you're called up for a year? Would they just
give me a contract,
your period?
And,
is that making sense?
And I'll give you an example. There was a couple of people that were with us. They had to sign a contract. I think it was a year contract. But now they can't do anything to me not being in shape, okay? Because that's different. That's different. Because when my contract is up, I'm coming right back. You see what I'm saying? I'm not gonna lose my job or anything either. But no, they're not gonna call you. If they call me up today, they're not gonna just take me over there for no 4 months.
Well, military don't ever make sense a lot of time either. You gotta look at who running the country.
Yeah, they're gonna make me sign a contract for at least a year.
Okay, that's what I was getting at. With you
that you can guarantee that that's just how anybody knows that they're gonna try to keep you for at least a year, and then they're probably gonna try to talk you into staying in, and I'll be like no. But any other questions? Okay, let's talk about Midlands Tech for a minute. If I can get that to do what. If I can get I don't want to stop sharing. It won't let me. How do you move? Here we go. It won't let me. Hold on. Let me see if I get out of. Oh, there it goes. Okay. I'm gonna have to close
another presentation.
No, I'm trying to. Let me talk about Midlands Tech, and it won't let me bring it up, but I can talk about it. I know most of it from heart.
So you gotta stop share and then share again and pick the presentation that you want to share that screen.
Okay, let me see. Oh, here it is right here. Okay, let me do it. Here we go, Lillian. Hold on, 1 second. And then I'm gonna run through the Midland Tech one real quick. Let me hit presentation, go back to where I was.
So when you share screen, pick the different one.
Okay, there it is right here. Can you see it? Can you guys see that?
No, I'm not able to see it.
No, I don't see anything.
Okay, it's not. I think because I got it on the internet, it won't let me do it. But anyway, let me just run through it real quick. Everybody knows I work at Midlands Technical College. I've helped quite a few people at the church. And the main thing that you need when you go, there's only 3 things that you truly need at Midlands Technical College. Of course, you got to fill out the application. The application fee is $30, okay? If you come and see me, everybody in Midlands Tech that has come to see me have gotten it waived, okay? I've gotten it waived for them, okay? Second of all you need is your high school transcripts. And if you've taken college courses, you just need those transcripts, okay? Second thing I would do is I go up there with them. to make sure that they get hooked up to the right academic career advising person, okay? That is the most important thing at Millens Tech. You want to make sure you get hooked up with the right one. We had someone for Millens Tech. I don't know why the academic advising had them taking courses that they did not need. And if I'm a new student coming in there, I'm going by what you tell me, okay? And of course, we have classes now that are through Zoom. You have the regular online classes and you have in-person classes, okay? So those are the three things. Pretty much you go online and you go and you fill out the application. If you have any questions, issues, you can call the admissions. Most people have called me if they felt like they have, well, our members have called me. Let me say that. My members, but they know my cell phone. But it's Millens Tech. It's not hard to get into. I will tell you, they do everything to make sure that you are successful. Encourage every student to fill out those end of the courses evaluations. You think they do not count? Yes, they do. They do. Even the evaluations on the staff. Because if you run into a staff member and they're rude or they're not helpful, those evaluations help. It gets people in shape real quick and in a hurry. Okay. But Millens Tech is a good place to go. All of the credits will transfer over. We have a contract with all the colleges in South Carolina have Millens Tech contract. For example, Clemson, Benedict, Claflin, USC, even in North Carolina, Duke, they've gone out and did these contracts from, especially up and down the East Coast, it's mostly where most of the contracts are. They take good care of the military. If you're in the service, they work around your schedule to make sure that you can get your education, okay? Matter of fact, we partner with Fort Jackson all the time. Really, these days, if you want your education, you can get it. You really do save a lot of money by going to Millens Tech first, because a lot of times I've heard the testimony for a lot of students that they've gone on to the one student is at Charleston right now, College of Charleston, and his parents are thankful that they saved that amount of money. Now, and it's really important for, especially if you got a child that doesn't know what they want to do, okay? So technical college really helps them decide that. And that's all I have. Any other questions?
This was very informational, and I really appreciate it. I think everyone on does and our audience does. So thank you so much. And remember, no face, neck tattoos for the military. Go back and replay if you want some of the age limitations on there. And it's if you're in the reserves, you're always signed up for war. What about 10 years even after retirement?
Yeah, just remember once you retire, you still have that 10-year period. I learned that. I learned that afterwards.
Well, thank you so much, First Sergeant Laureen. We're gonna salute you and thank you for sharing your insights. And, and Dr. Jenais has some confetti and party treats for us. So we're looking forward to hear what she has to share as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Laureen, for all of that information too. I learned a whole lot, and I'm still in some of those age requirements. It looks like I'm gonna have to figure out a face tattoo if the draft is
keep you from going.
Totally teasing. I do not want the wrath of my parents for that, but pom-poms to you. So good evening, everyone. I am Jenais Means, as I keep forgetting to introduce myself as Dr. Means, but part of that is going to come in this presentation. I am so excited to be with you all tonight and talk to you a little bit about some career development pieces. And I like to be a little interactive. So Lillian, I may need your assistance if you don't mind, if people would maybe type in the chat or the streaming, if you would verbalize those things, that would be great. And I know I've got really good support on screen. So you all are also welcome to chime in or ask any questions or answer some of my questions as we go. All right. So I wanted to start and kind of tell you all a little bit about my career path. So I got a high school diploma that we heard Laureen talk about how it's important to have that high school diploma. I then went and got a Bachelor of Science degree in biology. I worked at Midlands Tech for about, I can't remember now, 12, maybe 11 years, I want to say. I was working at Midlands Tech. And then I decided to change careers. And I got a master's degree in clinical mental health counseling. And I decided to change careers one more time and got a philosophy doctorate in counselor education and supervision. So I share this with you all so that you know it is completely okay to pivot.
Yes.
Sometimes we will say, oh, this is exactly what I want to do. We will enact a plan. We start going for it. And then we realize that is not the plan that really works for us. We may learn more about the area, or we may learn even more about ourselves and realize that that's not quite it, or there's another step to take. So I want you to know you can pivot 3 and 4, 5, 6 as many times as you would like, and you still can have a healthy career and be able to take care of yourself. So don't be afraid to pivot. So I want to talk a little bit about the different educational and social experiences I had in these 3 areas. So as I mentioned a few minutes ago, I have a completely different career in each of those spots, and I got each degree in a different place, location in the country, as well as the type of school. So the very first university I went to was Xavier University of Louisiana. I don't know if anyone has heard of Xavier on the call. Xavier is an HBCU. It's historically Black college or university. It is the only Catholic historically Black college or university in the Northern Hemisphere. And I went all the way to New Orleans, 702 miles away. My dad reminds me of the number to go to undergrad. And I majored in biology there. So sometimes you hear about the HBCU experience and you may think that it is party type, or it's everyone's dressed up going to class. There's all these stereotypes that come with it. It's going to be important to visit, or even now in 2024, you can hop on social media, find some people who attend the school and see a little bit what the environment is like. Because each of the HBCUs are going to be a little bit different. They're all going to tell you they're number one, though. So don't fall for the trap. They'll all argue that they're number one. But that experience was not just, well, let me take a step back. So not just the HBCU experience, you want to look at where the school is located, because that's going to impact how that experience unfolds. So Xavier University was in New Orleans, Louisiana. So there's lots of big events. You know, you all have heard of Mardi Gras that happen there that impact what kind of social things you have happening, how your educational schedule is set up as well. Because like I said, the school was Catholic. My second university experience was in Columbia, Lenoir-Rhyne University, that was off of North Main, and that is a predominantly white institution. It was also religious-based because it was on the campus of the Lutheran Seminary. So we had that additional connection there. Then my final school, I don't think I'm going back, but check with me later, was UNC Charlotte, which is another PWI. It's not a religiously affiliated one, but it's in a little bit north of the city of Charlotte. So New Orleans, Columbia, Charlotte, 1 HBCU, 2 PWIs, completely different experiences at each one. What I know now that I've come through all 3 programs is that it's important to know what kind of college experience you want and what kind of resources you need. Each of these schools had completely different library sizes, library hours, social calendars, ability to have a Greek life. All of it was different across each place. So if you're looking for specific resources or experiences that you want to pay attention to, is this school where I'm trying to go, does it have all of those things? So I've got some examples of some resources and experiences that you may want to keep in mind if you're thinking about doing the college track. One is family. So If you stay here in Columbia and you've got the wonderful First Nazareth Baptist Church family right here, you have biological family here, that can be a resource for you. That can be a place to make sure that you are comforted. You've got warm food in your belly. You've got a shoulder to cry on. When I went to Xavier, I had my uncle introduced me to a minister of a church there that was an African Methodist Episcopal church. And that church became my church family. They would come pick me up, take me to church on Sunday mornings, get me breakfast, they feed me lunch. And it was a beautiful experience that really for me made college doable, is that I had that church family. So you may want to look at, is there a place of worship near where you're saying you want to go? Are you close enough to family that they can hop in the car and get you, or are they hopping on a plane to get you? Also, when you think about the school, not just the academics in terms of like what majors they have, but how, quote, difficult is the school? And also, is the school a for-profit school or a not-for-profit school? So where things are moving in 2024, getting a degree from a for-profit school doesn't have the same amount of weight as a school that's considered not-for-profit. So you may see like, was it like Fortis? There was a couple commercials that used to come on all the time advertising for quick turnaround of jobs. And some of those programs can be really good and allow you to get a quick job. But if you're looking at moving to another step of your education, those courses might not transfer. So you had Laureen tell you how Midlands Tech has all of these connections and contracts with colleges and universities, because what they're saying is that Midlands Technical College course is equivalent to that USC course. It's equivalent to the College of Charleston course. So you want to make sure when you're picking a school that you're able to select something that's transferable. And also figuring out if they help you find internships. Internships are wonderful for finding a job and getting job experience. Has anyone ever looked for a job and it says you need 2 years of experience, but they're expecting people fresh out of college, and you're like, this math doesn't math? Some people are meeting those requirements because they had an internship or an externship or some sort of fellowship while they were in school. So checking to see if that school's department has something that checking to see if the school has a department to help you find internships and fellowships will be very helpful. There's two more things that I want to talk to you about in terms of resources and experiences, and that's financial means and the social life. So sometimes when you go to a school, you want to join all the clubs. You want to have the Greek life experience. You want to see the sports team. Xavier University's football team is undefeated because they don't have one. So I knew when I picked that school, there was no such thing as going to football games. The basketball team was okay, but if it's something that you enjoy, like going to see different sports teams, you may want to consider how that, Vida, I see you laughing. You may want to consider how important that is, and if you want to select a school where you have the opportunity to experience sports teams, clubs, and Greek life. You also want to consider finances. So I don't have a significant amount of information about our life in Palmetto scholarships here in the state, but I believe if you have at least like a 2.5, you get that life scholarship. Laureen, I don't know if you have any additional information and want to chime in, and that's like $5,000 a year. So it's maybe possible that you meet the requirements for that life or Palmetto scholarship, but you want to consider, can I afford these schools? The other thing you may want to consider is, if I can't and I'm doing student loans, is my career going to pay me enough to be able to pay these loans back? Or am I going into a field where I can get these loans forgiven if I work for 10 years? So you want to make sure that you are considering all of those factors. I'm wondering if there's any questions that have bubbled up for anyone. I feel like I'm rolling really quickly.
Oh, great.
All right, no questions? All right, we'll keep going. So my first big question, and anyone is welcome to chime in, my group on Zoom, or if anyone who is streaming would like to answer, what's the difference between a job and a career?
I'll bite, Jenais. To me, a job is something people just do for a paycheck versus a career is something that you're passionate about, you're interested in, and you're invested in it. Maybe you trained for it. And it's really one of those things where you never really work when you have a career that you feel positive about.
Okay, I'm hearing there's lots of warm fuzzies, not just let me get up and get this here check, which sometimes we end up in a space like that because we have to have our basic needs met. What else would we want to add to the difference between a job and a career?
Retirement.
Ooh, retirement. Excellent. I don't have that on my list coming up. Yes, retirement. What else?
In a career, you want to move up. You want to keep almost going up the ladder, say so, or you want to the career that you're in, you want to make it better. You have that passion to bring things to it, to add to it.
Okay, so I'm liking this. Y'all are keep going. If you've got more, we've got the upward movement, we've got retirement, we've got there's passion. What else?
Your career seems more long, not necessarily suffering, but I was going to say something similar to Laureen. It's something you kind of grow into and you develop and evolve. It's a career path.
Absolutely. Well, you all are on it, and I needed to get with y'all before I got this deck together because we could have a more robust slides. It's wonderful to be among so many beautiful minds. So here's just a couple of things that stand out on the difference between jobs and careers. They're both going to provide some financial support, but you may be in a career in a salary position. There's bonuses potentially that you can get. There's that upward movement that was mentioned a minute ago. And in jobs, you might be at that hourly pay and you get a little bump, little bit at a time, couple of cents. It may even be along the lines of minimum wage or things of that nature. Now, both of these can provide a service, but I'm sure that you're going, why is it on there just provide a service? Sometimes a job is absolutely a service. We may be working at like dry cleaners or something of that nature. You're providing a service for someone, but it might not be the same as providing a service as in selling some sort of life insurance or working like I do as a counselor or working for state government where you're developing plans for things. There's a service that you can give to people that they can then build upon. So usually that means careers have a higher sense of personal fulfillment than what a job may have. There's also the social and community connections that's a little bit different. So if you're in a career, there's usually something long-term. There's other people in your department who've been there 10 years, 20 years, and you've developed more of potentially a family connection or some, there's that, what do you call that? Not just like integrity that you develop with people, but there's like a trusting relationship there. And it was mentioned, I think Vida mentioned it before we pulled up the slide, is there's usually a difference in the amount of educational preparation required between a job and a career. So now that I've kind of given a little spiel, I wonder if anything else has popped up that you all feel like is part of the difference between careers and jobs. Think we covered it? I think so too. All right. So how do you know what?
I'm sorry, we do actually have a question
from
KP Head. Accredited and unaccredited schools, what are the pros and or cons?
Okay, so I think it's going to depend on a couple of things. Like we've got there are some schools that are very highly specialized that are not necessarily accredited, but you can still get a 4-year degree from them. I think it's going to depend on what your plan is with that degree. If you're going to be doing something that's entrepreneurial and you're not having to apply for a job, a state job or a corporation job, you likely would be okay. I would lean towards the accredited school because that's going to have the weight to it. Also, I actually filled out a job application a little while ago for a teaching position. And one of the questions they asked me was my program 100% online or was it in person or hybrid? So outside of just the accreditation pieces, some employers want to know, did you sit in a classroom and engage with other persons? What they're finding is that there's a difference between having the typing discussion board engagement and that verbal engagement that comes out when people are having to communicate with their customers or communicate with their colleagues. But I would absolutely err on the side of the accredited school.
I have a question too. I have a question because I've heard, and it could not be true, that the weight of the school depends on even though the school is accredited. Some people said that, the weight of the school, depending on that, some of the accreditation schools might not get you the job that you want. Does that play a factor in that?
So yeah, I've seen, I can't tell you where it was, but it definitely was here in Columbia where the HR department was very specific about where persons for a particular job could have gotten a degree. And if it was a school that did not have brick and mortar, that it was completely virtual, they didn't feel they were at all meeting the criteria. So some of it's going to matter. Another thing is the GPA. Like if you are in a undergraduate program, let's say you did like I did and you majored in biology, you decided you want to go to medical school. Medical schools are going to look at the GPA and adjust the weight of that GPA on their entrance based on the difficulty of the school. So you may have gone to a very challenging school and got a 2.8. Someone could have gone to a school that's maybe smaller, liberal arts, private, not as challenging, and got a 3.2, but they end up being in the exact same spot. Because that 2.8 came from a harder school. So you will find that people are taking a look at what it means based off what school you came out of. But that's also where additional things such as like doing the internships, having extracurricular activities can help bolster if you are graduating from a program that's not considered as stringent as others. Thank you for these questions. These are great questions. All right. So how do you know? So it's a question, how do I know what I need to become or in order to become a blank? Anybody know how you figure it out? If you decided you wanted to be an electrician, if you wanted to be a cosmetologist, if you wanted to be a news anchor, how do you know what all you need to do? Who's telling? Go ahead.
A mentor.
A mentor. Mentors are excellent. I needed to add that to my resource list. Yes. We have no mentor. What do we do?
Research current job postings or vacancies online.
Okay, we can research, yes, current job vacancies. I am going to, while y'all are thinking, pull up my next thing to show you. You should still be able, though, to see my screen. You still see it? All right.
Yes.
Any other guesses?
But the school that you apply to will determine, because you're going to research and which whatever school will better meet the needs of the area that you're trying to get into.
You are right on top of it. And I will say that sometimes, okay, you can see this, I'm copying this link. Sometimes we end up identifying what we want to do and we don't know where to go. And so I'm going to show you, watch your eyeballs. I'm going to reshare another screen. You're like, how do you watch your eyeballs? We'll figure it out together. This is a free resource. You heard it here first, people. A free resource. It's called mynextmove.org. Has anybody heard of it?
No. Glad to learn though.
It's a very cool. So there's a couple things I want to highlight about this site. So you can literally type in a particular job you're interested in, and it's going to tell you the skills, abilities. It's going to give you something so beautiful that you're going to enjoy it. So I'm wondering if anyone wants to shout out a particular career that they're interested in that we can type in and see what we've got.
Let's see. Family law. I don't know, lawyer.
I'm retired.
All right, so I'm over here in this green box that says, I want to be a ... And you can just type in the search bar anything that you can think of. And Laureen tossed out lawyer, so we're going with lawyer. All right, so it's going to give you an option of different type of legal professions. So we see lawyers, paralegals, financial investment analysis, and so forth. Anything that has a little sun next to it is considered a bright outlook, which means that in the future, we're expecting to need more of these people or in this particular role. So, Laureen, you picked a bright outlook job. All we've got to do is select lawyer, and it's going to then tell us exactly what they do. And it gives us the knowledge, the skills, the abilities that we would need to be a lawyer, the type of personality traits, the type of technology that we need to understand. And the fun part at the bottom, how much education that you need. And so for a lawyer, we've got 5 hats. And then also the average salary that you make in that role. Pretty cool, right?
Definitely.
So you get all of these things at the top, knowledge, skills, abilities, and you have the opportunity to look at it and say, do I have these skills? And if you don't, you have opportunity to work on those skills to see if you can develop them. Or you may say, I do not want that skill. And then we try something else. The other real fun thing about this site is, notice it says find training, certifications, licenses, and apprenticeships. If you're wanting to get the education and figure out next steps, all you've got to do is click on the find training. They've got the state, I'll do my zip code, and it should pop up. Oh, look, law, the University of South Carolina, Columbia. And it's going to immediately link you to where it is you may want to go. Isn't that fun?
Wow.
I love this site. And so here's another thing you can do. If maybe you say, I don't know if I want to be a lawyer, but I know I really like education. You come over here to this orangish brown, I'm not sure what color this is. It says, I'll know it when I see it. You're going to hit this little down arrow and we're going to go, I think education, select education. And now it's going to show you all these different careers that could be regarding education. And notice we've got bright outlooks. This time, I want to be a choreographer. Check it out. They do the exact same thing. The knowledge, skills, abilities, kind of personality you may want or need. And this is only a 4 hat. So it's showing that you don't need as much education. So I'm going to show you a couple more things and then I'm gonna sign off. All right. So this last box over here, it says, I'm not really sure. If you've got no clue, you're like, I can't tell you what it is I want to do. You can hit start here and it's going to give you a 60 question interest profiler, again, all free. And it's then going to give you some different job zones based off what you've answered. Now, because I X'd it out, I don't know how I did that. Let me see if I can go back into my history and pull it up. I think I might have clicked on too many things. Let's see if we can go back to it. But this is an excellent way if you've got no clue to check out what's what. So you remember those hats we saw a few minutes ago? Mm-hmm. So those are considered job zones. And I had it pulled, but I'm going to have to type in job zone and see if it comes up for us. These job zones are going to show you, let's see, it's not doing it. All right, give me a hot second. I'm going to describe it real quick. I'm going to pause this. So what those job zones are going to do is they're going to show you how much education you need to get some sort of job done. So if you already know, I do not like school. I'm not trying to be in school for 8 years. There's just no way. What we'll do, we're going to resume, and I'll drop this in the chat. This is a slightly different website that I can't remember how to click to get. This is going to allow you to select occupations based off how much preparation you're wanting to do. So if you already know, I want little to no preparation, you click Job Zone 1, and it's going to give you a description of what all you might need. And then it should link you to some more information about exactly how much time it would take for you to do something. So if you hit Find Occupations and do Job Zone, and you do Go, it tells you all the things that have little to no education in Job Zone 1. Some preparation, you hit Go, and it gives you all the way down. So you don't have to look at it based off knowing a job you want. You don't have to have an interest. You can say, I just know I can't be in school long, but I definitely want a career, and you'll be able to get to it. Now, what I'll do is I'm gonna drop this in the chat on how to find the job zones. And Lillian, do you mind dropping it on the Facebook or however so other people can see?
I've shared mynextmove.org too.
Okay, awesome. And there's the other one. Okay. So that is that is all I have for you all today. I like to be able to give people some direct resources so you can check things out. But thank you so much for your time. If you've got any questions, I'm open to answering them.
This is very helpful, especially if we have young people in our lives, we have students in our lives, and we don't necessarily want to tell them exactly what to do, but we can offer them some possibilities. You know, maybe college is for you, maybe it is not, maybe the military is for you, maybe it's not, but this is definitely a great tool to explore. You know, what is best for you personally, because that's going to be the ultimately the best customized fit for you, your career path. It's what you're going to be doing the rest of your life. Thank you for telling us that it's okay to pivot. If you don't have it all figured out, make one step and trial and error, and it's totally okay. You can keep starting over. But if you know, maybe this is a second or third career, I'm glad to be able to have that website to explore. I have this much school going for me. Maybe I need to, you know, look and see what's closest to me. So check out mynextmove.org.
Yeah. And the second one I did was, it's called ONET. It looks like 1T online, but it's technically ONET online. It's also a really, really good resource.
And I'm trying to find, is that what you dropped in the chat?
It is. And that'll let you sort by those job zones. If you play with the site, you may be there for hours because there's so much information that it has for you. All right. Well, thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Absolutely.
And we're thankful to have Ms. Vida. Jennings, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what is it about the actual career once we've decided on a career path? How do we behave? What do we need to know?
All right, so I am Vida Jennings, and I am by day a human resources director at Blue Cross Blue Shield of South Carolina, experienced professional with over 20 years in the game. And in my free time, I serve as an adjunct business professor for Southern New Hampshire University. People know me around the church from Women's Day and the trustee ministry, but tonight we're going to talk about career readiness and workplace success. I'm fortunate in my years of serving as an HR professional to have supported the entire life cycle of employees from hire to retire. Tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about getting hired and things that you do to make sure you remain employed. Because right now, in my current role, sometimes I have to usher people out of the workforce because they're not practicing those good workplace success strategies.
Right.
I know people used to be excited to see me, but now that I have employee relations, they're not exactly happy to be my friend because typically I'm not good news. I have my LinkedIn profile on the home screen. Feel free to reach out to me if you want to connect. So let's get started. Everybody should have some basic things in their career toolkit. We heard some great information from the previous two presenters, and what I'm sharing with you tonight is going to apply whether this is your first career or whether you're pivoting and you're trying to get your second or third career. Everybody should have in their toolkit personal branding. Who are you? And what does that say about you? And how does that translate into you? When people think about me, I am a problem solver, I'm a solution seeker, and I'm a people connector. And I stay true to that in everything I do, whether it's my volunteer work, whether it's my professional life, whether it's my church work. That summarizes me in 3 succinct kind of statements, right? But if you need help, I know you could probably find a brand coach to help you pull yourself together, particularly if you need help defining who you are. Another thing you should have in your toolkit is an elevator speech. Well, what's that? I'm glad you asked. It is 30 to 60 seconds of an introduction that you can give somebody of who you are, what you want to do, where you want to go. And you need to have it ready because you never know who you might meet in the elevator or who you might connect with when you're out moving around. Networking. Everybody needs to network. You've often heard the saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. It's a little bit of both. And the important thing about networking is you should always be doing it. Always network. You have to have a good resume. Why? Because sometimes your resume goes before you have an actual face-to-face or an online interaction. So your resume is your hard copy sales brochure selling the best product you own, you and your professional career and expertise. And lastly, you have to be able to interview. Now, there's a couple different types of interviews. One is where you're doing information seeking, trying to find out about a career, where you're doing exploration. When we talk later this evening, we're going to be talking about interviewing skills where you're looking for a job as the job seeker. In this presentation, we're going to focus on networking and interview skills really quickly, and we'll talk about some workplace success. Keys to networking. Have your pitch. Know your elevator speech. Have it ready for you. When you're out and you're networking, make sure you have your online presence ready. So that means if you're looking for a professional career, have a built out LinkedIn profile. Make sure your social media is reflective of the type of position that you want and that you're pursuing. You're highlighting your accomplishments and stay active on your social, whether it's original thoughts or resharing industry news, publications, highlights, and follow companies that you're interested in. Network daily. Talk to people. Now, this one's the struggle for me. So I tell you, don't do as I say, not as I do. I am a strong introvert. I don't like to people. So I have to be intentional about talking to individuals and making those meaningful connections. So last night, our company had a huge event at the Museum of Art. And I was like, oh, I got to go. But I set parameters. I said, okay, I'm going to go for 45 minutes. And my goal is to have at least 3 intentional conversations with people that are meaningful while I'm there. And if you practice that with regular social events or other things, this helps you have better connections with people. Network with purpose. Don't go somewhere just to get everybody to see how many business cards you can collect or how many online connections you can grab, whether it's through LinkedIn or Hello Me. Think about what you are seeking in your network. And sometimes your network isn't just people your age. Sometimes it needs to be people younger, or sometimes it's people older. We can learn from a variety of people and leverage. You heard Laureen mention how people have reached out to her from the church to help get enrolled in college. You have heard people reach out sometimes to just ask for your support, like, our dynamic trio host tonight reached out to the 3 of us because they wanted guest speakers. Who you have in your network can help you be successful, not just in your personal life, but also in your professional life. One thing to remember about networking is the first time you contact someone, don't just call asking for something or reaching out for something. Sometimes it's important to give before you get. And you're like, well, what do I have to share? Well, sometimes it's, oh, I read this article and I thought about you and I'm passing it along. Sometimes it's the gift of a compliment. Sometimes it's a gift of a time. I know you're really busy. Is there anything that I can help you with? You get some practical experience if the person is working in your field of interest, or sometimes you get some exposure to some other people in that person's network. Give before you get. Those are 5 things that I would like to recommend for your personal networking success. Now, I talked a little bit about events, and that's what this next slide is about. When you're at an event, some things to help you be successful. Wear your name badge on your right hand side. Why? Because when you go to extend your right hand in a handshake, it captures a natural line of sight to your upper right shoulder. And that way, people will make an easier connection to remember your name. Sometimes when you have a conversation, it's good to talk to people one on one, one at a time. But if for some reason you are not able to have that deep conversation with someone at an event, look for groups of odd numbers. Why? Because there's usually someone available to talk to you. So approach groups of 3 or 5 and connect with other people. Don't forget to leverage your technology. Hello Me, Hi, LinkedIn, scan QR codes, and connect with other people at the events. And if you're shy and you don't like talking about yourself, maybe leverage your wing person. I hate talking about myself, but I can tell you about my fabulous friend all day long. So I've gone to events with Shakise Newton before she was running for Richland County. And people, if she didn't know them, I'd be like, hi, this is my friend Shakise. We met through a professional association. We were both Toastmasters. One of the proudest moments that I ever had with her was I had the opportunity to watch her compete for the World Championship of Public Speaking. She owns her own consulting company, Cardinal Consulting. She's based here in Columbia, but she has customers all over the world, including international clients like Microsoft. I can brag on her, but sometimes if you're bragging on yourself, it sounds pretentious, right? So that's why the importance of a winged person is so important and helpful in networking. Any questions so far? All right. I'm going to try to move through this a little quickly because I know we're running short on time, but I do want people to get something from the information.
Absolutely.
Types of interviews. Now, we talked about informational interviews earlier where you're seeking out and you're connecting with someone. Maybe you want to know more about the military, so you talk to Laureen, or you want to know about being an entrepreneur, so you talk to Lillian about starting her own business and the different types of things you want to do. That's where you're seeking information about a career. But then as a job seeker, have types of interviews as well. And you may encounter more than one type of interview. The traditional interview, the interviewee, you will be asked, how would you do something? Or there's like future probable actions. And it's really a give and take. But more and more as you encounter the workplace, there's behavioral interviews. And this is where interviewers are looking for specific examples, and they'll ask you questions like, tell me about a time when, or show me how you would. And these interviews are more challenging for individuals because they don't always hit the mark. Here's how you can hit the mark when you're faced with behavioral interview questions. Use the STAR interview technique. STAR. Start with describing the situation that you were in at the point of time where you're responding to questions. Give the specific tasks, the challenges, the expectations, what exactly was being asked of you to be done. Then build out your response by sharing what steps you actually took, how you did it, and explain the result, your accomplishment, the recognition, or the outcome. It's the STAR technique. And if you remember the star, then it helps you to respond and present a fully developed response. Sometimes when you're having a behavioral interview, people will say, tell me about a time when something was not as successful as you would have liked it to be. And you're thinking, well, Vida, the star technique really doesn't work here. Well, actually, it does. You would do the star technique and then you would add an extra AR. So you would do star AR. You'd still go over the situation, you'd share the tasks, what action you took, and the less than successful result, but then pivot or transition. In reflection or in hindsight, perhaps if I had done this and outline your alternative path of action that you now think would be better, I could have received this result, and you have your alternative outcome. And so that's another technique to help you respond to a behavioral question where you're changing what the impact and the long-term outcome is. Something to think about. So STAR, for example, tell me about a time when you were the leader and the project did not go as you wanted it to go. And I could say, well, there was a time when I was a learning and development manager. We were tasked with the assignment of building out a training curriculum to support a rollout of a new expense module. I pulled the team together. We had a project plan and we had limited resources. So during that time, we were working as we were receiving the additional information and the system was being built out. Unfortunately, due to delays in the system and delays in receiving approvals, we did not meet the expected timeframes and the documentation was not available when system went live. In hindsight, if I had to do it all over again, I would still keep the same resources that I had, build out a project plan, but instead of waiting for the changes to be built in production, I would have built the system documentation based off the test region so that the documentation would have been available and published at the same time when the production went live for all the users. And my friends, I just walked you through a very complete STAR AR interview response. I see, is there something in the chat? Oh, just a comment. Okay. Wow, awesome. Great.
I got a question. So,
Yes.
because I hadn't heard of the star before. Is what they mainly use in the interviews, right? So when you go on an interview, you mainly want to concentrate on this, correct?
So I will say, if you're encountering a behavioral interview, you never exactly know what people are going to ask you. There's some things that are common. I always encourage people to have a list of accomplishments, successes, projects that they've worked on, and things that they're particularly proud of that they can draw on in an interview situation and apply this method when asked a behavioral question. But you're right, a lot of people are asking behavior, particularly for career type positions, leadership type positions, project types positions. You're going to look for behavioral type interviewing.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
And post interview. After you walk out of that interview, jot down any of the critical topics that were discussed. Think about why you're excited about the position. And pause for just a moment because the interview is a two-way. They're getting to know you, your qualifications, your background, your experience, but you are also learning about the company, the team, the work environment. So jot down why you're excited about the position. Once you have your reasons, go through your list, Send a thank you note, acknowledgement, whether you choose snail mail or email. Say thank you for your time. And then, if you're truly interested in the opportunity and you haven't heard anything, follow up. Follow up with the recruiter or the hiring manager within the week. I can tell you that with all things being equal, sometimes the thank you note or the follow up or the dedication can be the differentiator in selecting that final candidate. Now, all is well, knocked out the interview, have the job offer, and you are now an employee. Now what? Once you have the job, you need to be professional in your conduct and your speech, right? The way you act sometimes with your friends is not necessarily the same behaviors and skills that will result in success in the workplace. One thing that I often tell people is don't find your honey where you make your money. Workplace relationships are not are not good and can be a career limiting
That's good.
experience. Also, respect people's time. Be on time. If you have project deadlines and objectives, overpromise and underdeliver. People will be much more excited and impressed if you turn something in 2 days earlier than if you turn it in 2 days late. One of the most frequent attendance is one of the most frequent things that we counsel employees on. Yes, you have PTO, but you should follow your guidelines about requesting the time off and do it in an appropriate timely manner. People understand being sick, they understand emergencies, but you need to prepare and plan in advance. I also encourage people to level up, right? And so, what are you saying for that? All companies have dress codes and guidelines of what you want. And as we were coming up, people would say, dress for the job you want, not necessarily the job you have. Um, be prepared for the future. Carry yourself for the role that you're looking to ascend to. And so, if you want to be at that next level, or you see yourself in management or a professional, spend the time carrying yourself in that manner so people can see you in the future that you want to walk into. Invest in yourself. We heard the previous presenters talk about the importance of education and the types of careers. And then you have degrees, but you also have certifications and you have certificates. Everything doesn't necessarily require a 4-year degree, but sometimes you have a 4-year degree plus more. If you remember from the entry level slide that I had 2 designations behind my name. One was a senior professional in human resources, and the other one was a senior certified professional. Both are additional credentials that demonstrate to people that I have a mastery of strategic human resources and extensive amount of work experience without them even looking at the rest of my resume or my credentials. You can invest in yourself by taking advantage of the personal and professional developments offered through your workplace. Some companies also offer education assistance. You can go back to school and pursue additional things. Midlands Tech has great certificate programs as well as certifications. About 11 years ago, when I was still in learning and development, I enrolled at Midlands Tech and earned a certificate in employee relations law. And everybody was like, why would you go back and get a certificate in employee relations law? Said, you never know when I'm going to need it. Fast forward, a job opportunity comes up 10 years later for a director of employee relations. And who had a certificate in employee relations law? And it was a differentiator between me and the other candidate. So you just don't know. Also, I'm going to do another plug for Midlands Tech. I don't work for them. They have a great quick jobs program. A lot of people are not aware of it. And these are short-term certificate and certification programs that people can get that can help you transition into another career. Do your research. you're in an organization, you know what job you have, but you also are thinking about what jobs you may want to have in the future. It maybe not be the time for you to apply right now, but you can see what jobs are being posted. You can see what qualifications they're listing, what knowledge, skills, and abilities, what type of work experience. And if you don't have it, when you do a gap analysis against your credentials and the jobs that you see posted, then plan how you're going to obtain those things or how you can be exposed to those things. And always network, network. Don't stop when you have a job. Network when you have the job, after you've gotten a job. I always remind people of when they're talking about interviews, two things. Your interview starts as soon as you arrive at the organization. You don't know what influence the security guard, the parking lot attendant has, the secretary, the receptionist has. Treat everyone with respect, right? And the other thing is, after you have the job, you're interviewing every day. You're not interviewing for the job that you have, but you're interviewing for your next opportunity. You're interviewing for stretch assignments. You're interviewing for exposure. When people see you and they interact with you, it's an interview. People are thinking about, oh, I've got this great opportunity. Who might I want on my project team? Well, you know what? Laureen seems like she has a great personality. She might be a great person to give an opportunity to. So be on your P's and Q's wherever you are, whether you're in the work area or if you're in the break room. Always carry yourself in such a way that you would be proud and your name can be spoken in rooms that you have not entered. I know that's a lot of information, and I tried to give it to you in a short period of time. I'm going to ask if anybody has any questions before I wrap it all up.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Peter,
Yes.
just a question, because I'm asking all three of you all. In this the information age, how do we handle social media? Because social media goes before us and even after us. What are y'all's guidelines? What do you think about social media in terms of how we should act and react with that? I'm
Uh,
just asking.
That's a great question. And some companies will check your social media profile when they're considering you for a job. So you really need to be very cognizant about what you have on your social media. So, for example, I'm on several different platforms. For professional purposes, LinkedIn is my primary social media platform. For me, Facebook is not for work. It's for fun, it's for travel, and it's for food. And that's typically what I'm going to post. I don't post, I don't have that I work for my company on my Facebook page, right? Because I don't want anything to be a negative reflection or anyone to be saying I'm speaking on behalf of the company, even though I have a pretty decent position within the organization. Um, I encourage people to use controls. Make sure that if people are tagging you in posts, that you have the opportunity to review them, go through and scrub anything or take things down that don't reflect your values and the image that you want to portray as you're going in the workplace. But you're right. This is the age of social media and it can come back to bite you. So I encourage people to use it with caution and to use it appropriately. There are some networks and platforms that I have very few followers on because there are only a few people that I want to see what I'm getting ready to say. And there are times when I restrict the visibility of my post, and it may be very difficult to find me because of the power of social media and the impact that it can have on your career.
I agree.
One last question for me. I come in your office with all these tattoos on me and I'm interviewing for a job. What effect does that have on my being hired?
Well, Reverend Hazel, it depends on what type of job that you're interviewing for. So, and I say that because you know, times have changed, and it's not just tattoos. There's blue hair, there's pink hair, there's
Yeah.
there's all kinds of stuff that we see on an everyday basis with employees. If you're in a call center and you're working on the telephones and people are not seeing you, I don't really care what color your hair is or where your tattoo is or if it's on your face or if you've got earrings all the way up your ears and all kind of piercings including giant discs. As long as you can conform to the dress code and the guidelines that we have in the workplace, come on over, we'll take you.
Okay.
But I might not put you in the retail location because we have walk-up locations where you may be serving some conservative customers. You know, a lot of times we have products where we're working with the elderly. We may sell Medicare Advantage plans or something like that. And we may not want to put somebody that doesn't look clean cut in front of some of our seniors because they may not be as welcoming or as acceptive. So yes, so what type of job is appearance important? That may determine whether you will be considered, not necessarily whether or not we would hire you. Just certain roles, you might go for certain things.
And I'm gonna piggyback off that because that is so true. As someone told me a long time ago, thought it was kind of harsh, but it was very true. They always have people that they want at entry-level jobs. So you decide how you want to move up. You decide your appearance, you decide all that. Should it play a big role in it? But we know that it does. So I always tell young people, it's not what you get or what you do, it's how you do it and how you get it. No one said that you couldn't get a tattoo, but it's where you put it at. Am I put it on my neck and my face? Am I going to get hired in a certain job level? So it's doing it just like the military says, doesn't say you can't dye your hair. It just says do everything within good taste. And that's what I try to tell young ladies. It's not that you can't do certain things, but does it compliment you? And when you do it, does it compliment you? I will also say about that social media, that is very, very true. We had Marcus Lattimore come out and talk to the young people, and he talked about how a couple of people did not even get chosen for the football team because of what was on their social media. So that social media plays a good role. We think it's all about getting hired for a job. No, it's even about when you go to college. It's even about whatever you want to do. It's all about how you represent yourself. I tell young people all the time, we all get a certain age, we're all young, we all do certain things, but it's how you do those things. Think about your future. Nobody ever said you couldn't, even in the military, they didn't say you couldn't get a tattoo. They're just saying where not to have your tattoo. Okay.
I think those are some great points, Laureen. I always am thankful that I came up long before the internet became so popular.
Yes, thank you.
And just remember that your social media profile is an extension of your personal brand. And so if it doesn't support your brand and your message, it shouldn't be connected to you on your social media.
That's it.
Absolutely.
So I just have a couple resources available, some links here. And Melilla, you may be able to copy them and put them in the link. If not, I can send you a copy of the presentation too, so that you can have them and share them with others. And that's all that I had to share with the group. I just wanted to quickly go through some things, talk about some important workplace behaviors and what to do after you get the career.
You mentioned a site that I hadn't heard of called Hello Me. What is that?
The Hi Hello Me. So the Hi Hello Me, it's a company that has an app, but they also have some blogs on and articles that are very useful. And Hi Hello is one of those networking apps so that if you're at an event or whatever, you get like a personal QR code and you can have your personal business card and people can scan and get your information. It's like a contact connection, but they also have some things on their website. It's a pink and purple app, and I have it on my phone. I don't use it as much as I use LinkedIn.
Okay.
Can I just say one thing? I've enjoyed this tremendously tonight, but I've got another one that I got to get on.
Well,
But
we
I
appreciate
really have enjoyed this. Thank y'all so much.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here.
Okay.
And with that being said, ladies, we have learned. I know everyone on the line has learned. I know everyone who has watched and chatted with us has learned a great deal from you all. I just love how we can talk about the same subject matter, but each person has a story that helps us think about it differently. And so I really do appreciate you guys sharing your expertise. And the fact that networking, I don't think people realize it, but it provides a wealth of opportunities in any field, especially professional, especially the workplace, but even the church, in ministry, in anything, schools. A lot of us are parents. Life is about relationships. I have a good friend that likes to say relationships matter. And I don't know that we all, because we're in a iPhone society, and a lot of us are introverted, in a me-driven society. We don't realize how much we're here to connect with folks, and because we do, we become better because of that. And so this is clearly evidence of that tonight. And so we thank you guys. I know that you have helped, and it will help some of those who go back and replay. This was a lot of information, but all of it was very helpful. And I'm glad that we did it at this platform so we can review at our convenience some of the resources that we have to prepare better for our future. And so we thank all of you who have, at some capacity, those of you who have not been on the line, those of you who have shared your expertise over the past few weeks for our summer this and summer that. We just want to learn and live to be better as we continue our work for Christ. And so we invite you to go back through and review some of the various subject matters that we have covered. And maybe next summer we'll do the same thing for some new topics. And so if you have any in mind, feel free to share with us. And with that being said, we're going to bid you good night and hope you all continue to be richly blessed.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Have a good night, everyone. Thank you so
Thoroughly
much.
enjoyed sharing this panel with you all. Very knowledgeable. I love being
Yes,
on
excellent.
It's great.